Coming up on the dirty side of the track this week. Anyone seen Sap?
He's there. He's right behind this other car. I'm screaming Sap. And then you kind of lollop along around. Oh, hi.
And Brian's body starts shutting down.
We sat in this little table where I was in a ficus, but that's all right because the beer was free and cold. And we had just been in the garage and I couldn't feel my arms. Hey now, welcome to the Dirty Side of the Track, America's leading Formula One podcast. We, Rob and Brian, were on assignment this weekend in Canada. We were at the GP. Rob, how are you, man?
I'm so tired. So very, very tired. But still on such a high after an absolute brilliant weekend. So, today's going to be a little different insofar as we didn't take any notes. We weren't really paying attention to any of the news. So there'll be a much more condensed up front where I think we're going to probably, for the first time ever, just rock straight up to the video vault and have a look at what you found. You had some time to find videos somehow. Was this on flights?
This was actually before the weekend started. I was traveling. Okay. I put two trips together, which was not ideal. But one of the nights I had a little time. And so a couple videos in the video vault, which I'll open here. I found that...
Wait, don't open yet. We've got to lay out the episode for the ladies and gentlemen. So we'll start off in the vault. Brian will take us through whatever he found on his little shenanigans up YouTube alley. I'm not sure. I'm trying to make a little awful attempt to then link up to... There will be a Cadillac corner, but it will be embedded because we have probably the best Cadillac corner, the corner that we were in. Couldn't be any more Cadillac if we tried. And we will try to thread that into blatantly just recounting whatever we remember of the last 3 days and hope it turns into an episode. So stick with us.
Yeah, exactly. But with that, let's open the video vault. So, yeah, I had a little time one night this week and then on planes and trains and automobiles. And there were a few videos that are worthy of being mentioned. I will do these, as always, recently in podium style. The one that did not make it. Spring Mountain, Cruise Control, Episode 2, Cadillac Formula One Team, 9 minutes. It's Terry Crews learning how to drive, like sort of advanced car control maneuvers. Pietro Fittipaldi, their caddy sim driver, was in the back seat trying not to vomit as he's getting thrown around in the car. Terry Crews is a likable fellow. Pietro Fittipaldi was funny, but it was 9 minutes of I didn't really need it. On the third step of the podium would be George Russell, drives while Crofty steers in Silverstone karting in a two-seater. This was on the Sky Sports F1 channel, 7 minutes. This was good, so basically it's a two-person kart. Crofty and George are in it, and they take turns. At first, George just shows them around, and then one drives the pedals while one drives the wheel, steers the wheel, pushes the pedals, however you like. And so they did this, and it was pretty funny. I almost mentioned it to Crofty when we meet him. Oh, spoiler alert. And then on the second step of the podium, Formula One drivers attempt NASCAR on the Oracle Red Bull Racing Channel, 6 minutes. And I clicked on this, and I fell for the bait. I hook, line, and sinker like a fish. I said, oh, this is going to be good. No. And so they had a NASCAR driver who is now escaping me because I was late one night when I watched this. And it's Max and Isaac, and it's before the Miami Grand Prix. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be cool. They're going to go out in NASCARs and get like lessons from a real NASCAR. No, it's on a sim. Oh. And they just did Miami in a NASCAR. And it's sad because Isaac's talking about the corners he likes and which ones are hard. He crashed out in Miami early, if you remember, clipped the corner on the way through that chicane in the back before the straight. And of course, who was fastest? Max or Connor? I think it was Connor something Zilich. I can't remember. Who was it? It was Max. He was fastest. Just give the guy anything and he knows how to drive it. Sim or real, his formula or not. But while we're on the second step here, just a short note about the loss of Kyle Busch, a NASCAR driver this week, was a horrible tragedy. He's 41 years old, young guy, taken far too soon from his family. Just terrible. So the racing community, I was actually a little disappointed at times that we didn't mention him at the F1, not you and I, but that he wasn't mentioned at some point because the racing community in North America racing lost a leader. And then at the top step, total gold. Drink the champagne in. We give Carlos and Alex a golf cart in Montreal, and this is what happened. On the Atlassian Williams F1 channel, 12 minutes. Literally, it is what it says, and I could not love it more. The two of them, last week I had a blast watching them cut things in half. This week, they get in a golf cart and go a lap around Montreal, and they had the best time. They saw a groundhog, and I'm like, uh-oh. Is that the one you hit, Alex?
Foreshadowing.
Spoiler alert. And so as they're going around, they're looking at the Wall of Champions. They hit the Wall of Champions a little bit, brushed it with the golf cart, but they just had a blast. A bus was on the track taking tourists around, and it overtook them, and then they tried to get a draft. Anyway, if you want to have some fun, that's the one to watch this week. Rob, you all right if I close the vault and we can move on to our trip?
Yeah, do it. So Friday, early hours, it seems like a lifetime ago now. I exchanged texts with Brian. He was getting ready for his 5:15 a.m. Uber. I was saddling up in my Mitsubishi Outlander, which was my chariot of choice from the rental company. And I had my 5 hours, and we were trying to see if we could coordinate that I would get there at roughly the same time that Brian was landing. Anybody that's seen kind of like the Grand Tour, it was kind of like one of those like challenges of can we both arrive in Montreal at the same time? And bizarrely, we really did. We really did. As I pulled into the cell phone lot, Brian's landed and he's just giving me the kind of like, wait. Once I'm off the plane, I'll text you, then come get me. So he texts me, I go get him. And we almost got arrested. No, we didn't get arrested, but the security dude at the airport was not a big fan of people taking more than 3 nanoseconds to pick people up before he moved them on.
I had my hand on the tailgate. I had my hand on the tail.
But,
you've
chosen this moment to turn around and start going through your bag at the point I'm arriving. I'm opening the window and shouting "sap" out of the window. You're not responding at all. So I have to get out of the car, which he didn't like because he didn't want to see the driver getting out of the car. He's like, "Where's your ride?" I'm like, "He's there. He's right behind this other car." I'm screaming "sap," and then you kind of lollop along around. Oh, hi. I didn't see you.
Well, and then you get back in and you yell, "We're going to get sent to jail if we don't get out of here." So I literally have my hand on the trunk, and the guy is yelling at me. I'm not doing this fast enough, and the car's locked, and I cannot get the trunk to open, so I just threw everything in the back seat, and we left. But the best part is we then head straight to the Airbnb, as we've talked about before, and anyone new, and a lot of people we talked to this weekend, so welcome.
Well, you had some plane folks, didn't you, actually, before we leave and head off to the Airbnb?
I'll talk about that in a second. But this part was amazing because the timing had to work. As Rob already said, we wanted to make FP1. And we get to traffic wasn't too bad. Rob did a great job getting us to the Airbnb. We literally threw our things in the trunk of the car, grabbed what we needed for the day, and called an Uber. And I'll be honest, the whole morning I didn't think we'd make it in time for FP1. And you were giving me grief for being a downer about this. We made it with a little time to spare, which was phenomenal. So, but back to the plane. I love this flight. It is filled with people wearing F1 merch, and it makes me happy. It's like the beginning of the weekend. It's the weirdest flight. It's like a special flight. It's just the F1 flight, and it's Chicago to Montreal, and it was tremendous. We sit down, and I'm trying not to overdo my excitement by talking to too many people, and I'm watching some videos. But the father and son next to me across the aisle in their Ferrari merch, and the father had a little Stanford merch on there too. I caught you dead. They were so excited to go, and we chatted a little bit when we landed because it's loud, up in the air, and I didn't want to bother everybody. And I'm not good with names. This will be not the first time I say that, so I missed the father's name. I'm sorry. The son, I think, was Harry. I promised to shout out. If I'm off, well, that's on me. But we were really excited to talk about the weekend. We talked about that. There was an Oscar fan right behind us. She jumped in and we were chatting about things. We had behind me directly were 2 big F1 fantasy players, and we talked about fantasy for a while, and then he was explaining the game to the father and son, and the wife likes to play, and she's had Fernando forever. And then a couple rows behind us, someone kind of piped in when we were talking about Oscar, and it was the coolest thing. Everybody was so helpful, and someone said, hey, could you hand me my bag? And we're on the 2x2 small regional jet, and the bag is like 6 rows behind. On a normal flight, can you hand me my overhead bag? The answer is go pound sand. But instead, we were all like hands across the world. We like literally put our arms up. We're passing it down. We're like, anyone else need a bag? And I mean, we were all so excited. And it's a great reminder. And we've talked about this, that the F1 community is amazing. We'll actually talk more about that a little bit later about Friday in the day. But man, I loved it. So that flight, the Ferrari father and son, the Oscar fan behind him, the fantasy fans behind me, I was ready to go. When I saw Rob, even though the copper was trying to steal my fun, I was so excited.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get the same as you. I just got knowing glances that as I was driving across the border, there were a number of F1 caps on display from various different drivers. So as you're like lining up, waiting to go across, you kind of glance to your left, glance to your right, little knowing nod. I know where you're going, son. But yeah, so we got there, picked Brian up. We had good traffic. I think it took us 45 minutes to get from the airport to the Airbnb. The Uber came on time. We got to the metro. We grabbed our weekend pass so that we would never get stuck in that.
Always do that up front. Always do that up front. Top tip.
Train arrived as if it had just been waiting for us because we almost could have just walked through the gate and onto the train. We get to the island and then we're like, we have got a lot of time to get to our seats, even if the wait line is pretty long. Hang on a minute. What's this little Amex special cheat code entrance that we're spying? Probably was there last year. We just completely missed it. But we're walking up. We see this big-ish line on the general entrance, and then there's these 2 people standing underneath an Amex sign for priority. I'm like, yeah, it's bound to be the Amex that I don't have. And Brian's like, no, I think it's any Amex. So we just walk up. We flash our Amexes like we're some big dog in town. We get ushered through. We massively cut the corner. Like we took about like 12 steps compared to 22,000 steps, and we're in. And yeah, we made it with time to spare for FP1.
Time to spare. We picked up beers on the way to the seats. We sat down before FP1 started, had beer in hand, butt in seat. I looked at Rob just with an idiotic smile on my face because I was the happiest guy in the world at that time. Like this is great. So
sun, beer, F1.
What more do you need?
I don't really remember FP1 that much.
I don't either.
I remember seeing the cars go around and being thrilled to see the new cars that I'd never seen before. So in terms of like seeing the Caddy, the Audi, seeing the Haas livery that I've always said I loved when I see it on track, and then seeing it on track in the flesh, I love that Haas even more.
I will say, I think this is when Alex hit the groundhog in FP1, I believe.
It could be.
I'm pretty sure.
But this will be a running theme that I remember this weekend being, I won't say worst, because that sounds too bad, because it was still good, but let's just say that the track TV didn't have a penchant for giving us information.
None. And we have, here's the kicker. We have seats where you look you can see 3 TVs. One's right in front of us. You can hear the track announcer, Meeker, and the other gentleman. And this, like you say, was by far the hardest to keep up with without using our phones or a radio. In the past, we've just used the track TV, and they tell us or show us exactly what we need to know. It left us many times questioning what in the heck was going on. Now
we didn't even know why Albon was out. And I had to go onto BBC Sport, and they were like, "Yeah, Sky TV's not showing a replay for obvious reasons because I guess the groundhog went into a million pieces." But at least they were reporting that Albon was actually out. We were just sat there, and suddenly Albon is not around anymore. And like, no one knows where Albon's gone. But
they did show us. I think it was Liam had the hydraulic challenges and parked up on the side of the track. We'll come back to Liam in a second as well, and his happiness I don't think he went out for sprint quali. But yeah, and then we're sitting there, and we got to meet our neighbors in the seats. And hi, it's me again, bad with the names guy. And I really enjoyed being neighbors to these folks. I know Rob did too, but they were to my immediate right. Mother and daughter from Long Island, Barbara and Elizabeth? Question. I believe we talked the whole time, and then when we got to names, it was near the podium, and my brain broke. And so apologies if I got that wrong. But can I just say to you two, it was absolutely lovely chatting and talking about the race and just our fandom for motorsport. It was just great. I couldn't have asked for better neighbors, and just tremendous.
Yeah, they were cool.
Yeah,
they were really good.
And then something happened on Rob's phone. My phone. Well, really Rob's started it.
Well, I can't remember. I think we were trying to sort out beers with Paul on Friday night. So just sent a ping to him to say, what's the plans for later? And he came back with well, when do you guys get here? Like, well, we're here now. We're watching FP1. And he came back with you should have swung by Caddy, like laughy emoji. I'm like, oh yeah, like we can. And then he's like, yeah, same bridge as last time. Come meet me. And we were like, what?
Like what
What?
time?
What's
Where do we
happening?
go? What, are you serious? Is this a joke?
So yeah, we walked off down to the bridge, the fabled bridge that either is a fabled bridge when we're getting to walk over it, or is the one that we look at with resentment when all the Paddock Club people get to walk
Well,
over it.
what do we? What I mean, let's be
And
honest. We are what we are. What do we call them?
well, I don't want to get my bleep machine out again,
We
which
can't
I'm
say
going
the
to have
last
to
word.
many times later. It's up to you. No, you're the one that's sensitive around these types of things, so you say it.
Paddock Club wankers.
There we go. So
And they slow down the traffic coming out of the casino to the bridge, and we have to pass this intersection, and we get riled up about all the PCWs walking around, and but now we were part of the we were invited into the paddock area, not the club, but the paddock itself, and we couldn't have been prouder to go up that bridge, and look at us now.
so yeah,
Who's
Paul did an
the
absolute-
wanker now?
Yeah, we are. Um,
Totally.
Paul did an absolute solid again
Oh
and
my
got us
God.
in, and it was even better than I remember from last time. I think they've raised their game on the hospitality suites. They're like little chalets now. They were just like amazing.
Amazing.
So we go and hang out. Like me and Brian were so awkward. We kind of inch into the Cadillac hospitality, like looking like two Muppets behind Paul. Going, "Hi, yeah, we don't belong here, but we're gonna stand here anyway."
We're
And then
little
Paul's
friends
like-
of Paul. We just don't want to talk or move or be in the way.
So then Paul's like goes over to the hospitality ladies and was like, right, these two are my friends. I've got to go and deal with Valtteri a bit, so just look after these guys. And we were like, Paul left, and we were like, "Oh, we do. So we sat down, we drank 3 beers. They couldn't have been nicer. They came over, they said, right, this guy Matt's going to come over and take you on a garage tour in a minute. And we were like, what? Like, I just thought we were going to get to walk around the paddock area
Right.
again. And it's like, no, Paul's organised a garage tour for you. And oh, okay, that's amazing. So sat and drank a couple of extra beers, and then this guy Matt comes over and then drops the second bombshell. So I think it's, when do you want to play the jingle? 'Cause
For Cadillac Corner, now's a
let's
good
do
idea.
it now.
Let's do it now. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is play the jingle and then get into the actual corner.
It's Cadillac Corner. It's Cadillac Corner. It's Cadillac Corner.
So can I just say one thing for folks who are listening who have never been in the paddock, which was us up until a couple years ago? The paddock itself is like where all of the teams work. And so it's behind in Canada. It's behind the garages or garages. And you have as Rob said, hospitality, but that's just for the team and like special invited guests. The Paddock Club is different. That's the $10,000 a ticket thing, and you're up above the garages. You don't necessarily have access down to the garages. Actually, you don't unless you're brought down and invited. And so what's a weirdo flip around, and this happened to me in Silverstone when Paul was nice to me and my family there, is you're walking around with your paddock pass, and the people who paid $10,000 a ticket are standing up with their champagne and caviar, looking down at you, jealous of you walking around down in the paddock, because now I'm walking around next to the drivers, the TV productions that are going on. So Rob and I are literally down. They're rolling tires past us on tire trailers. And so we go back. This gentleman, Matt, comes and gets us and brings us into the caddy garage. At this point, we're told, do not touch your phones. Do not take them out. Do not take any pictures. Do not pass go, or you will go to jail. And there were multiple times when Rob and I started reaching to our pockets for our phones, and we both kind of electrocuted ourselves. Every time we did it, it's like, no, don't take the phone out.
And he just took us around and showed us everything from where all like the headsets were, where the tires are kept, took us to their little manufacturing plant where they can render new bits of carbon fiber, where all the spare parts are. It's absolutely phenomenal. And this is the bit where we literally sat in Cadillac Corner. We got taken to our seats and we were like, what's going on? They're like, well, you can just sit at the back of the garage and watch sprint quali. So they sat us down behind Valtteri's, right behind Valtteri's car, with these big fancy touchscreen monitors where you could keep an eye on what was going on in the quali session, or you could just watch the TV feed, or you could do whatever you want. They give you these nice little headsets to listen to, while the nice lady from kind of the corporate hospitality for Cadillac is talking us through what's going on. Or they're doing this to Checo's car at the moment. They're doing this to Valtteri's. Checo and Valtteri just wander in and they're doing their preparation to get ready to go on. And I'm just sat there with probably the most ridiculous, gormless face I could probably ever have in my life, as my brain couldn't really compute what was going on.
I could barely talk to anybody at this point. I couldn't get words to form into sentences or phrases or grunt sounds. And the best is there were two lines in the caddy garage at the back, and we were kind of shown the back row, which is standing, and they give you headphones so you can hear all this, as Rob said. And so we started there, and Rob looks at me and he points at the floor at the corner of this area, the back of the garage. And he said, "Would this actually be Cadillac Corner?" And I said, "If we could take a picture of it, I would, but I can't, so I won't." But yes, we found the real Cadillac Corner. And then as sprint quali starts, there was space in the front row of the chairs that Rob said, and more touch screens. And so we moved up to there and sat and watched. And it was unbelievable. You talk about a pit stop being well orchestrated. Watching just the team function during something as simple as sprint quali. Simple, it's not, but you get my point. It's not what you might anticipate during a Grand Prix or other things. And it is so well orchestrated that as we're watching the laps go by, as we're watching the timing boards, we're listening to the updates from the person who kind of runs the VIP section at the back. And I'm sitting there just amazed by all this. And all of a sudden, when whomever it was crashed at the end of sprint quali and brought out a red flag, instantaneously, the crash happens. We don't even have a safety car yet or anything. All we know is a crash. Everyone jumps into action. I mean, everyone, all of them went running into different places. And I didn't even know what was going on. I'm like looking at the screen. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like they were all like trying to calculate whether or not there was going to be enough time to get them back out and get a lap in, and just watching that massive activity. Also, the noise when the two cars fired up, and then when they went out of the garage to go into, they pull out a lot quicker than I actually thought. I know when you see it on TV, they look like they come out of the garages pretty quickly, but they just light the tires up and it squeals in the garage and phew, out they go. I was like, wow.
And did you catch one of the mechanics goes down and then wipes up all the tire tread so it's perfectly clean and ready to go? Like again, I'm like, whoa. And
then at this point, towards the end, I think it was SQ2 maybe, we're hearing our headphones. Right, that's it, guys. I'm afraid you're going to have to hang up your headsets and head upstairs. And I was like, back upstairs? We weren't upstairs. And so I'm looking at Brian. I guess we have to go then. So we take our headsets off. We kind of look to the left, and this lovely Australian lady that was doing the commentary through our headsets kind of looks at us and kind of like does the universal symbol for sit down. There we go, sit down. I was like, what? And then we wait a second, and then she went, yeah, the other three that were in here, they're from the Paddock Club, and there's a time limit for how long they're allowed to stay in here. So we've kind of kicked them out. But you're Paul's friends, you can stay. Yes.
I wanted to ask, can I drive the car now?
It was insane. So then we stayed there all the way through, even though obviously both the caddies were out. We stayed and kind of, and then outstayed our welcome and got kicked out. No, we didn't get kicked out. We left.
We left after SQ2, and we went and sat back at the table in front with a smaller table. We were at Joe's table at first. You may know him from the podcast as Joseph from Sheffield. But Joe Guan Yu
saw him. We waved
many times. We saw him and waved once. But he had a little reserved table in front, and Joe was nice enough to let us sit at his table. And then when we came back, there were a couple other folks sitting around outside, so we sat in this little table where I was in a ficus, but that's all right because the beer was free and cold, and we had just been in the garage and I couldn't feel my arms. And so as we're sitting there enjoying this time, I was so wild, and we're watching SQ1 on the TV to our right. Three. Thank you. I always get that confused. We're watching TV to the right, and it's tremendous. And Paul comes up, and we're sitting there, and all of the drivers, as they finish their sprint quali, come do an interview with Lawrence Barretto and others. And Rob thank God for Rob. He goes, oh, I'm going to get all this on film. And he runs up with his iPhone and is taking pictures behind the scenes, which we'll put up on the website in the next week or two. He got almost all the drivers as they came through. He got a deep thinking shot of Lawrence Barretto, which makes me happy because
It's my favorite.
It's my favorite too, because the sun is only shining on Lawrence and Lawrence alone.
Like, yeah, it's just like a ray of light. It's just illuminating him in thought before he starts his interviews. And we were so lucky that the press area was directly opposite the caddy hospitality. So it was literally two people. I could, if I'd have wanted to and get arrested and kicked out, I could have literally tapped Lawrence on the shoulder to say, move out the way. I want to take a better picture of the driver who was right there in front of me. It was insane. Then Jamie Price, the photographer that we've had on the pod,
just recently,
he was walking around, and we'd messaged him to see if we could meet up. And I said, "You're never going to believe this. We're actually in the paddock if you're about." He said, "Where are you?" Well, we're in the caddy hospitality. 2 minutes later, Jamie trucks up. We have a nice conversation and photo taken with him. It was like, this is like Nate Saunders all over again.
Right.
When we met Nate but it was just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. So then me and Brian decided to go for a walk. We were allowed to stay in there until like everything was over. It was like 6:15 before, 6:45 before we got kicked out of the paddock. Like, we were in there for hours. So we decided to put on our big boy pants and we went for a walk by ourselves, getting some confidence now. I was like, right, Brian, we didn't get any selfies last time we were here. In fact, all you did was punch a Ferrari mechanic in the face.
Accidentally, it was an accident.
So let's try. Let's see what we can see. So Ralph Schumacher was always around, but he was always doing a piece to camera. So I'm like, I'm not going to go and tap on his shoulder while he's doing a piece to camera. Hey, Ralph. So we were kind of hawking around. Ted Kravitz came through our field of vision too quickly for us to flag him down, although Brian wanted to actually take him to
I wanted to turn
stealing
around.
Our stuff.
I did. I actually said, can I go turn around and tell him that we invented Cadillac Corner and he's got to stop stealing it? And both, at this point, Paul had come back to join us, but Rob and Paul were like, nah, I don't think that's really worth doing it. I'm like, yeah, all right.
So then we spied Crofty deep in conversation. I was like, right, this is the one. This is the one, Brian. We're just going to lurk. We're going to pretend we're in conversation. We're going to keep him in our eye line. And as soon as he breaks from these two...
We were in conversation. It was about how to get Crofty.
Yeah, I know. But we almost got to the rhubarb fake, extras in the background shot type conversation.
Right.
Just to keep it going. And it was testing my patience how much that lady was talking to him. I was like, come on.
Yeah, and you're known for your patience.
I am. It's one of my main traits. And then there it was. He broke free. And I think we probably mobbed him.
Well, he could have said no. So Rob said, hey, we know it's really appropriate for middle-aged guys to ask for selfies, but Crofty, could we have a selfie? Or he said something like that. And then Crofty was funny, and he answered back, of course, and he was really happy to chat for a second, and he didn't, run away. He kind of just stood there, and we felt bad bothering him.
Yeah.
Like, thank you so much. He's like, thank you. Have a great weekend, guys. And we're like, unbelievable, Crofty.
Yeah.
And then
we selfie.
We did, and then we got some more free beers. So if if the Cadillac hospitality was lower than expected on Heineken's at the end of the weekend, many apologies. But so we hit the washroom before we leave because it's a long walk back to the metro. And as Rob comes out of the little portable fancy washrooms they have that's where the drivers and a lot of folks go, and not every driver, but some of them have. Rob comes up and goes, I met a guy in the bathroom, and he's a big Arsenal fan. I was talking to him and his sons. I'm like, in the bathroom about all this?
No, not literally inside the cubicle.
Oh, right.
But
yeah.
it was a worlds colliding weekend. It was a worlds colliding weekend, which we'll come back to later, of just, the team I support and Paul supports, Arsenal, had just won the Premier League, and Sunday was going to be the day they lifted the trophy. And it was just a absolutely perfect weekend for me. I had F1. Paul had done us a solid favour and got us into the garage, which is just insane.
Yeah.
And I'm bumping into Arsenal fans left, right, and centre. It just couldn't have gone any better. And then to top it all off, we do our normal kind of tradition. It has become now third time in Canada, and Friday night is down. What's it called? Which is
it's just the Irish pub. We'll leave it at that.
It's the Irish pub. It's the Irish pub we go to, and we sit there and we have many beers with Paul, maybe too many beers with Paul. And then just as we're thinking it's winding down and we're going to leave, then a couple of Paul's colleagues turn up, not drivers, nobody famous here, ladies and gentlemen, but they were two nice ladies that work in Cadillac, and they needed drinks, so we had to stay and carry on drinking. That quite hurt by the end of Friday night / Saturday morning.
Both of us had long early mornings, long days. I'd been on the road for the 4 days prior, and I had a board meeting on that Thursday, so I had been burning the candle at both ends. So I was super tired, but you can't leave a man behind. So we were all sitting there having a great time. I will give a shout out to the bartender. I know she's not listening because we didn't talk about the pod, but she saved our lives because we got there at about 9:15, and the kitchen had closed at 9, and I was like, oh no. And I don't know, she said we looked vaguely familiar from years past. Regardless, I said, oh, is there anything that could be done for some food, even if it's not warm? Like, we are starving because we hadn't eaten barely, we'd had lunch way earlier. And so our little poutine, which by the way was really good this year, the poutine at the shop we went to at the track, and the woman worked magic, and we had burgers. They appeared later on fire. They were fresh off the grill. They were the hottest burger I've ever had in my life, and it was so good. Anyway, Friday was a ton of fun. Paul, we always have a blast with Paul there, and then and his colleagues. We had a great time. I was a little further away from everybody, so I couldn't quite hear everything, but that also means I'm old. So we'll just leave that being Brian's problem.
We also worked out that the more that you drink, the harder it is for you to understand an English accent somehow. Because the longer the night went on, or the drunker Paul got, the more he slurred his words.
And yes, so it's a combo of me trying to figure out what people were saying, and by the end I'm like, I don't understand English anymore. But shall we play Paul's review from the first day?
Yes, Pitlane Paul. And again, for folk that are just coming here for the first time, because maybe we bullied you into listening. So Paul is our friend. He works for Valtteri. He's been in F1 since 1997, I think, and he's just a solid guy. And what he always does over a race weekend is record these little snippets, these little insights from the pit lane. So we've coined the phrase Pitlane Paul. He has his own special music. And because it's a sprint weekend, we have 3 servings of Pitlane Paul. So have I padded long enough for you to get the music ready, Brian?
So I will say, as always, Paul tries to have a theme. See if you can pick up on what it is from Canada this year when there are 3, when it's a sprint weekend.
Hey now, Friday, Montreal. Another triple header. So this one's going to be the triple beaver in respect to the fact that Montreal in itself is surrounded by beavers. If you got a day out, you see beavers as far as I can see. Sadly, a beaver perished on track today. It was the cause of an accident, which I will touch upon later on. And if you never touched upon a beaver, sorry. Then, yeah, anyway. God, it's fell apart from the start. I've got 2 special guests with me on the Friday edition. It's always nice to have them. They probably spoke about this already. There's probably no guess that it's the alcohol assassins themselves.
I forgot
Sap
that part.
and Rob. How are you guys? How's your day been?
Unbelievably amazing.
Okay.
Ditto.
It's quite weird, actually. There's probably 4 listeners in this. Like someone else down the pub, and we're just talking to each other about it now. It's really good. Yeah, so they probably talked about it, I guess, by now. But yeah, I've been kind today. I touched upon my heart and cold black heart I've got, and thought I'll get them in for a little bit of a look around. So I let them watch FP1 outside, which was, did anything happen? A few crashes, weren't there? Albon basically run over a beaver, sadly. That caused his suspension to fail and caused him to hit the wall. That was pretty sad. Then we have, who else had an off? Ocon had an off? Ocon
Had a problem.
Oh, there's a lot of people. Basically, as far as Fridays go, it wasn't actually too bad. It was quite good. Let's talk about qualifying just happened. Look, I won't lie to you, from our side, absolutely sucked. It's one of those qualifying sessions where like everything went against us in terms of red flags, and then the time we got left at the end just wasn't enough because of our position. Some drivers were overly emotional just in the scales, what we call the scales room, which over to our right. Some French driver who got eliminated, very emotional. But I understand that. It's quite annoying because like you get a long line of cars. You get some drivers who don't want to pull away as fast as other drivers. which offers less shaft upon anyone else behind. That was kind of my view of qualifying. Your view of qualifying was actually from the back of our garage behind our car. So over to you guys for a quick 2 minutes to probably talk about what you spoke about a few moments ago on the podcast. But I can't bank on that because, unfortunately, the podcast go out Monday, so I can't predict what you're going to say about the show before I've said this, because I don't know what. Over to you.
I'll just say that I now understand Paul's time travel problems as we're having it too. Watching the garage was amazing, Paul. Thank you.
It's a garage.
Drinking all the beers at the hospitality was amazing. I didn't even see much of SQ2 and SQ3 because I was drinking beers and we were taking pictures of drivers.
Yeah, for the first time in my life, I really didn't give a rat's ass what was happening in SQ2 and SQ3.
A beaver's ass.
Oh, beaver's ass. I didn't give a beaver's ass about what was going on because we were sat in the back of the garage with headsets on. I don't even have words, but I probably have already tried to describe it by now because by the time we play this, I will probably have already spoken about it.
See, not so silly now, am I?
No.
And just a pure question: the beaver's ass. Which parts? Where we? I'm going to use your own imagination on that, but like, would that be the twins? Do you know? It's going to be nothing to you, that is it? I think Rob's got this. I don't get it. No, I wouldn't. And that's Friday done. See you tomorrow.
Oh, man.
Gosh, the first time we've ever done Pitlane Paul review live.
And we made a hash of it.
It was brilliant. It was
Okay.
It was quite the orchestration, and I do feel for him now, where he has to try to guess where we're going to put it in
Yeah.
the pod. Because the moment I started talking, I was like, I've probably already said this already on the pod, so I better shut up. So anyway.
Wait, before
That
we
was Friday.
close Friday, one last thing. When we were walking around in the paddock, there were a couple of people taking pictures with Liam, and as I had mentioned and talked about, his car had a mechanical problem, and he was out of FP1, and that cost him sprint quali. And he's back there taking pictures with people, and he's trying to be nice and smile. And full credit to him. Like, I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. However, I took a picture of him doing this pose with somebody, and his face, he should not play poker for real money because it gave away exactly what he was thinking, which is, why am I taking this picture? I really don't feel like doing this right now. And it was so pained, but he tried to smile. Like, full kudos to Liam. But it may have made me laugh as much as the Lawrence Barretto in the One Ray of Sun, thinking it with his notebook. Anyway, we eventually made it back to the Airbnb on Saturday, but it was a great time.
It was, and we got up maybe a little later due to how early we'd got in, which meant that when we rocked up at the track and were all ready with our Amexes in our hand to go and take the cheat code again, we looked at this humongous line that stretched from the Amex entrance all the way back to Connecticut. It was a ridiculously long line. And
I didn't even see it at first. We get out of the metro and Rob goes, "What's that line for?" And I'm like, "Uh-oh."
Right, it's got to be merch. It's got to be merch, right? What they were waiting for.
Tickets, merch,
literally,
driver signing.
Everybody in the world realised that they owned an Amex, so everybody was at the Amex line. The regular entry was like empty. We're like, well, why would we do that then? Let's just... And we were keeping an eye on it, and it was a long line, and it's got all the snaking, but we were walking at pace. There wasn't even a shuffle. This was like we were marching through this snake. I was keeping an eye on a couple that would have been close to where we would have been in the Amex. They didn't move. He did not move. So, yeah, no Amex cheat code used on Saturday. We did get there. Did we watch support? We watched some F2 and Academy on Saturday, didn't
we?
Correct,
yes.
It's just all getting a blur in my head, the order of the events. We really should have taken a picture of the schedule because I tried to go back into the app and it now tells you there's no upcoming events. So,
well, there are.
Messed that one up.
But we did get back in time for this. We obviously saw some of the support races. We'll talk a little bit about F2 as we kind of go. But we did then get into the sprint race. And so we watched the sprint, and we were talking about this last night. We actually ended up seeing Paul socially again Sunday night. We're recording this on Monday as we just both got home. Do drivers know kind of what their public perception is? And I'm not going to talk about a negative party. We always try to keep things very positive. The only booing we did all weekend for the second year in a row are the PCWs, the Paddock Club wankers, as they go by on the trucks. And I told everyone in the section, I'm like, and I said, we were just talking to people. I'm like, feel free to do you. I go, we never boo people. We don't boo drivers. But when the PCWs go by, it's a great opportunity to make sure they know that we're envious of them. We're jealous. If we had the money, we'd be up there too. I'm not saying we wouldn't do that, but we don't, so we can't, and we didn't. And so as they went by, I started it. I started giving them a thumbs down and some booing, and it picked up real fast, and the whole section started doing it.
Yeah, it did.
And the PCWs are staring at us from the back of the truck, and they're like kind of laughing and feeling a little awkward. I'm like, perfect. This is exactly what I was going for. And there were 3 trucks of them this year. There were 2 last year. There are 3 now, and more money for F1. And as they go by, we got all of them. We hit each truck. We made sure they got the Grandstand 11 Section 9 treatment. And anyhow, that happened, on Sunday. But as we kind of looked at the sprint, the perception part is where I wanted to come back to. Man, people love Kimi. And we saw the beginning of an epic Kimi versus George teammate battle. In the sprint, George gets his elbows out, but when Kimi was doing battle, the entire grandstand felt, whether they were Kimi fans or not, seemed to be supporting Kimi. Did you sense the same?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You really felt the love for Kimi and Lewis all weekend.
Yes.
2 massive crowd favourites. So, yeah, the sprint was good. Well, no, it wasn't. The sprint wasn't any good. It was a good indication of what was to come, because really not a lot happened. A little bit of spiciness at the start, and then once the George and Kimi thing had died down, it was like Brian turns to me and said, "Oh yeah, I'm not sure that was really any good." I'm like, "Yeah, it was the sprint. It was a." That's what we get with sprint races. There's nothing to see here.
Exactly. Nothing to see here. Oh. So the sprint occurred, like we said, a lot of the George and Kimi preview. We had quali, which unfolded later in the day. And I'm trying to remember the best bits of quali. I know...
I'm just really remembering the fight. I don't really remember much of it, to write it. And I haven't got any sports pages open in front of me. So I'm just going to go straight to the punchline, which is it did not look like George was going to pull that out of the fire at all. He messed up his lap. We weren't even sure he'd even got out again for a final run because Track TV didn't tell us. And they keep intermittently taking the timing tower off the screen because who wants to see where drivers are or what their time is? It's just
and it's only to 1 decimal. So please can we bring back more decimals, please? And then the part that kind of got me, in addition to your point on the love for Kimi and Lewis, was when Isaac had in Q2 had I think he had the fastest lap for a while. The crowd loved that too. Like you could just sense, when he put that up there, it was wildly popular with the crowd watching that happen. And so it was fun. It was fun watching the times go by. I did my traditional Charles is on a good lap. He has at least 1 purple sector, so he's got one of the fastest sectors out on the track. He has at least 1 green sector, if not 2 purples. And so as he comes down the straight, he goes under us and then right to the start-finish line. And there's about a, 1.5 second delay. And then I try to time it with my pointer finger, and I point at the screen. And that usually means, hey, he's going to get first. A, I mistimed it, and B, didn't get first. But at least I was close.
Close is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence, Brian.
Yeah.
But
we had fun watching.
You finger-gunned way early. You finger-gunned and then hovered. And...
Yeah. I mean, I told you I didn't get it right, and he wasn't top. But we did watch the Academy. Had a wonderful time cheering on the Academy. A few drivers from last year, I should say, who I was just invested in because I had fun watching them last year. From Alba Larson. I was so excited cheering for Alba as she went by. And then we started picking up. There was a driver, I don't remember her name, who spun in the 14 Gatorade car.
Yes.
And this was in the reverse grid race on Saturday. And she spun in the 14 Gatorade and was way behind and tracked down the 77 TWG and the 55. I forgot which team it was. It looked kind of like a Carlos blue. And so it was amazing as 14. You were amazing. She nailed it. She tracked down 2 cars from the middle of nowhere and was catching the pack. Whoever 14 is, and again, I'm doing a disservice here, but we don't remember anything at this point. She nailed it, and it was a lot of fun watching that. The F2 race was louder than the F1 cars, and it was fascinating to watch that. Rob and I learned something very important, that if an F2 car spins on the track, it cannot restart and will usually
Safety car.
cause a safety car. As it
Literally,
happened
it would
like
just
3
spin
times.
round. Yeah, it would just spin round, and you're like, oh, they're going to floor it now and get back on track again. It's like, no, safety car. Okay, well, maybe there's more to it and we didn't see it. And then they show the replay and they just come into the hairpin, overcook it, spin the car 180 degrees, done. Safety car. Okay. It's a bit weird.
It was weird. And then the second time, also at the hairpin, someone got tapped on the way into the hairpin. They spun around. Oh, maybe they have damage. No, they look fine. No, but safety car.
So then we stayed on our side of the water that night. We went and caught the Canadians in the ice hockey playoff in our new little favorite bar for that side, where we don't want to go downtown and come back at stupid o'clock at night and have drunk way too much. We need at least one night where we're sensible lads.
And save a
That
little
was
money.
great because
Save a little money.
the atmosphere in the bar with the Canadians playing was just, when they scored as well, that was fantastic. But anyway, do you want to do the second serving of beaver from Mr. Paul?
Let's do it. And I found it, and this time I'll play it.
Self homies and hey now, it is Saturday. It's not, it's Sunday morning. Yeah, I didn't do this yesterday. I actually on purposely didn't do the second beavering yesterday because I wanted to wake up this morning and just see what the weather was like, because like all on the forecast, today's meant to be ghastly. That's not Pierre, by the way, that's just ghastly. Which was actually summed up by his temperament after spring qualifying yesterday, Sunday, Wednesday. When was it? Friday. What day is it? What day is it? It's Sunday morning. And I'm pleased to report that there's minimal moisture to sort of like to start the third beaver. And there's a bit of rain around. I mean, it's murky. There's a few little puddles. I mean, the hotel next door's got a swimming pool on the roof. That's got a little bit of water in it. When I say a little bit, it actually looks like urine. It's like really yellow.
Oh.
Clearly hasn't been used for a while.
Gross.
Apart from that, there's actually not a lot of rain around. It seems quite nice. Look at a few cars going. Well, not quite nice, but a few cars going past. Anyway, all of this is kind of irrelevant because by the time that you listen to this podcast, of course, you will know if it's biblical weather on race day. Because let's not do this again. Right, yes, let's break yesterday down, because yesterday was a bit of an odd one, wasn't it? Like the sprint race, and it's like the first time we've seen a little bit of needling aggression, a little bit from Kimi, which was really nice. Do I have a view on it? I don't know. It's the trouble is, there's going to be people out there who are going to think George did bad, like naughty George. But the reality is when you're teaming up the start-finish straight, there's a slight kink to the right, and then you haunch on the brakes. He's obviously probably on the inside. Kim is trying to go around the outside. George's natural line, unfortunately, is to have to drift wide. So by Kimi putting himself in that position, he kind of wrote his own funeral almost, I think, because I don't understand where George is really meant to go from that point. The argument, was he alongside? I don't think so, if I'm being honest. So it was a very ambitious move, and unfortunately one that we've seen time and time again, and it doesn't overly work. I think you're almost better off just hanging him up on the outside if you're Kimi, and then just doing the off switcheroo is whoever calls it, and then re-switcherooing the next corner to get a good drive out in towards the next chicane, which he decided he was going to be Colin McRae. For anyone who doesn't know Colin McRae, research WRC Colin McRae. God rest his soul, fantastic person. The sprint race I thought was actually very good. It was really exciting. Canada can normally not deliver this place a little bit, I don't think. Like it's a lot of long straights. It's a lot of like it's probably a DRS nightmare, which we're probably not heading into as much this year. But on the whole, if I'm hand on heart honest, I really enjoyed the sprint race. It was really good. From our side, we're still trying to figure out what's going on with our car. We decided a pit lane start, which was the correct decision yesterday because of different reasons. Sergio went really well, but we say red DRS trains. He was kind of in one, if you want to be facetious about it all. I think it's behind Ocon. So, I was encouraged yesterday. I'm quite looking forward to see how today pans out. I'd like there to be a little bit of rain just to spice it up a little bit for us smaller guys down the back, us little beavers, little wee beavers. But on the whole, no, qualifying, I don't think there was any massive surprises. I think qualifying was as you would expect. Great luck by George at the end. He kind of has to respond a little bit, I think, this race. He seems to be getting a lot of pressure. Some of it's unnecessary, but that's unfortunately the way of the world. Let's see how today goes on the second beavering. We have one more big old beavering to come today. But let's see what the rain does. Let's see what the weather does. Fingers crossed. Just as I say that, can I see rain on the glass outside? And I say rain on the glass. I'm fully expecting Robin Satman to be currently sat inside the circuit. It looks pretty windy. Looks pretty horrible out. Oh, God, the rain could be horrendous. Could be awful. So enjoy, guys.
So that closes Saturday and obviously opens Sunday. Rob and I, having not gone crazy the night before, woke up and, boy, we were early. And we look at each other, we're all ready to go, dressed in our finest F1 clothing and with our backpacks packed and on, and we're ready to go. And we're like, should we go? The circuit isn't even going to be open by the time we get there. Well, yeah, let's go. So we go, and we always stay on the other side, as we've talked about, in Longueuil. And we go to the Metro. And they've redone the station a lot over the last 3 or 4 years. And it was nice because Rob was able to get a coffee at the McDonald's. We had all this extra time. And then he's like, why? I lost my water bottle. By the way, bring a refillable water bottle. Even if you buy one plastic one, just keep using it over and over and over again because they have so many good water stations. Another top tip. I feel like they have more water stations than they had even last year, which is great.
I think they did, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, totally fantastic. And so we took advantage of that all the time when we weren't drinking beer. And totally recommend the water. Rob, again, we get on the Metro. We get over there, and because we were early, we were all jazzed up. And this time I pulled my Amex card out. Let's see if mine works. And so we get up there, and there's not much of a line for the Amex yet. We're there before the park opens, and we're kind of curious how far we're going to get until something closes or stops us, or what does it mean to be open. And so we get through the Amex line in a millisecond. We start walking up towards the bridge, which crosses over the St. Lawrence River. And before we even get onto the bridge, it's stopped. Like, people are just stopped, and we're in a bullpen waiting for them to open. I can only imagine the top of the bridge. I would assume it didn't go all the way across
Top
the
of the bridge, I would have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
we only stood there for about 15 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't bad at all, about 15 minutes. And then it starts drizzling ever so slightly. Not too much, not too heavy, just enough. And it starts getting windy too. And at this point, about 9:30 in the morning on Sunday, the weather kind of sat in. This was what we were going to have for most of the day. A little bit of drizzles, on and off, cold, windy, and unpredictable. When it would start drizzling more, when it started drizzling less. Occasionally got harder, occasionally stopped, but it just stayed that way for basically the rest of the day.
Yeah. Never got a monsoon. Obviously, anybody that watched the race know it was a dry race completely. The drizzle had even sort of fizzled out. The drizzle had fizzled by 2-3 o'clock. So because it was so windy as well, it was just drying the track out. But it was great. We got there early. We did a little bit of a gag shot of Brian sat in the grandstand by himself, so that we could do the "Did we get the right day?" joke. And then we sat in for like 3 great races. We watched the Academy. We watched the F2. Both of those were fantastic. Really enjoyed those. Really enjoyed the F2 race because the mechanics that came over to be servicing the car that was directly in front of us, I wasn't really paying attention, but it was Sunday. Arsenal lifting the Premier League trophy, and this guy calls out to me, shouts, he's like, "Arsenal!" And I look over, and he makes a little fist pump and shouts "Champions" back to me. And in that moment, we connected. It was just a glorious, glorious moment. But both those races were great. I really loved the Academy one.
Yeah, Felbermeyer did well, and I think that was the one Palmovsky won. I think, or was it the earlier?
She did. I think she won both of them, didn't she?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember when she was on the podium, they said that she'd won both of them.
Yeah, maybe she did.
Never mind.
Yeah.
We're
not nailing the facts this week. We're usually better than this.
We're not up on facts, but it was just great watching open wheel racing for every single session that was on. It was just phenomenal. And like Brian said, the F2s were so loud, and some great wheel to wheel, like 3 abreast coming right in front of us. So they're coming out of the Wall of Champions, and like just the almost the wind that you could feel coming off the cars as they were just flying past, like about 10 feet in front of us. It was phenomenal. But then obviously we then get ready for the main event. So we're waiting for the drivers' parade. Drivers get on the back of the truck, off they go. They go all the way around. We're waiting. I've got a grand plan because Lewis Hamilton's an Arsenal fan that I'm just waiting for him to see my shirt and like finger point and go, yes. And it's all going to be amazing.
So
and then just as they come down to the pit lane, the truck stops. And it looks like they're all going to get off. And our grandstand booed much louder than for the Paddock Club people. And it was like, no, you can't not drive the drivers past this one grandstand. So they're booing. And then they realised the error of their ways, or we realised the error of our ways, because they were just letting, I think, Colapinto off to shoot T-shirts into the crowd. And then the truck carried on coming. But you couldn't really see anyone. They looked cold, miserable. They had their hoods up. Lewis was sheltering under an umbrella, so didn't even look our direction at all. It was probably, when we could hear them being interviewed on the drivers' parade, none of them wanted to be there. It was like, this is the one obligation that we could just get out of just for today because it's windy, it's cold, and it's raining.
Well, and most of them had something similar to say about the wind, the cold, what it would do. You know, they dialed the cars in yesterday, and they knew there might be rain, but they didn't know what to expect. So they were all curious and cold. Lance Stroll, they said, Lance, welcome back to your home race. There's a whole grandstand named after you. We're about to go past it. And they interviewed him. They said, would you like to say something to all of the fans in French? And he said, merci, thank you so much for coming, enjoy the race. One word. He gave one word in French, merci. And then from there went back to English. And then they interviewed Charles, and they asked for a similar request, and Charles understood the assignment and gave a whole answer in French. So anyway, that was kind of funny. And then, as you say, they let Franco off. Franco had been interviewed, and the woman came up to Franco with the microphone on the truck, and she said, Franco, you look upset, kind of cold. He goes, I'm fine. And so that's when I realized Franco apparently has resting bee face. And according to this woman, I thought he looked fine, but she assumed he was very miserable. He's like, I'm fine, happy to be here. Anyhow, so we get that done. We get the grid walk. They set up in front of us. I still am mesmerized. Rob and I always say this, and like, oh, this is great. And then I looked at him. I go, I'm not going to take as many pictures of them walking the cars up to their grid spots this year. He goes, yeah, me either, because we did that now last year. We're in the second row, 12th grid box. We don't need to take all these pictures again. And then there we are taking every single picture of every single car going by.
Twice.
It was ridiculous.
And then we got to witness the first start under these regs. So when the blue light comes on and these things make some insane... It's not an engine noise. It's just a weird whistle effect that just is so loud, but not loud. It was it wasn't like an engine roar vibrating through you. It was just bizarre.
If you found yourself with your head up a beehive, that's what I would assume it sounds like.
And then poor old Lindblad just didn't get away from the start. Apparently had clutch issues, so we watched the whole thing go round again. But they seemed to decide to take his car the longest way possible to roll it away. So then they had to go round again for a second time, and then we finally got the start. Start was amazing, and I'm really just... I know this is going to be the world's worst race review, but all I really remember was just being absolutely mesmerized by, I'm guessing, 33-ish laps of
25,
Kimi
30.
and George going toe-to-toe. I know we had Lando made an amazing start, but we all knew that starting on Inters was going to come back to bite them because we'd been remarking on some of the back markers that we saw were on Inters. We didn't even clock that the McLaren boys were both on them. It wasn't until we saw them come round for the formation lap. We were like, what the hell? It's not wet? What? Why? Why the green? What's going on there?
I mean, I was shocked. We saw, like you say, we saw Audi on the green tire, and then we saw Caddy go past, and we saw others. I think Haas may have done some green. And so we saw the Inters going around, and I said to you, and you agreed, and we were like, why would you do that? And for McLaren to do that from the front, we actually debated that last night for a while with some folks, Paul and others, and we kind of got into it. I still think it was a huge mistake. And when they interviewed Max in the bullpen, I caught this on the plane home this morning. When they interviewed Max in the bullpen after the race, he called it a McLaren strategic mistake. Because they asked him about it. He goes, well, I don't know if we're the third best car because McLaren made a strategic blunder, or whatever he called it, by starting on Inters. So
I mean, Paul said that Caddy and those guys at the back had done it on purpose for gambling on the safety car because of the conditions, which would allow them to then run softs for the rest of the race. So maybe only run inters, because obviously you can't run a race soft because you've got to use multiple compounds. But if you start on those, and the inters were better for grip for like the first couple of laps, because we saw they couldn't warm up the other tires. So had there been a safety car in those first 2 laps or a first corner incident, anybody on the inters would have been absolutely making hay while the non-sun wasn't shining.
Right.
But
wasn't it Canada 2 years ago when Haas came out and they went out on wets and everyone else was on inters and they dominated for 6 laps.
Ships.
And then the track dried and those wets turned into liabilities. They had to box after 7 or 8 laps or something like that, and everyone rolled past them. And it was a great idea, but it all hinged on more rain coming. And for everyone who started on inters, it hinged on more rain coming, and it didn't. So at least not enough. It was
it hinged on
down.
A safety car coming.
Yeah,
it was never. I think they all had the forecast at that point. So I think anybody that went inters really gambled because they knew the weather wasn't going to be their friend.
But if you're banking on a safety car, that's a good strategy for Audi or Cadillac or Haas.
Not McLaren.
Right.
Yep.
So that was my struggle.
I agree.
So like you said, I want to echo this. Being live for the George Kimmy battle for the first 25, 30 laps, being in the grandstands was amazing. Because even if it didn't happen in front of you, you saw it on track TV. And that's all they showed for like the whole 25 laps effectively. We lost drivers. We didn't know why. Piastri was in the pits forever. Albon was out. No clue what happened. Like, again, to Rob's point, this wasn't the pinnacle of direction for track TV. That's okay. But we just didn't know certain things that were going on. People were retiring. Fernando Alonso out of the race. Really? He was up running pretty high. All of a sudden, he just disappears off the board. No clue. But we caught all of the George Kimmy battle. And every time they went wheel to wheel, and when they touched by the chicane by the Wall of Champions, when they were battling each other through turns 1 and 2, as they went around the airpin with each other and occasionally outbraking themselves, the entire grandstands, and I don't just mean ours, Grandstand 1, I mean the whole park erupted, and 100-some-odd thousand people on this little island in Canada, in Montreal, lost our collective minds for 25 laps, and I was there for it. I thought it was amazing.
It was amazing. Yeah, I think it was more. I think wasn't it lap 33 when George's car went bang?
Yeah, sounds right.
I think because when we watched the YouTube highlights the next in the evening, we were like, okay, that's what happened to Piastri. But so yeah, then I was worried when George's car let go. I was like, oh no, we've had 33 laps out of 70 of amazingness, and we now got nothing to watch. Like, where's the action going to be? And at that point, Lewis and Max just went, hold our beer. And we basically just almost seamlessly just transitioned from a Mercedes battle to those two going at it for what felt like forever. And then Lewis made a mistake at some point, but again, we never saw it on the TV, so we don't know what happened. Suddenly he was like breathing down Max's neck, and then he was like 5 seconds behind. But he just kept reeling him in, and we were all watching it. And it was every time they came past down the straight, you could just see he was so much closer to Max each time. And that was amazing, just watching those. When Lewis finally got Max, I don't even know if that was bigger than the cheer from when Kimi got George at one point. It was just... And then, sorry, Kimi, there may have been a little bit of conversation about if Kimi suffers the same mechanical breakdown as George, we could be on for a Lewis first Ferrari win here. But we didn't want to wish that on Kimi. We were very, very happy when he crossed the line and won it. I mean... what a podium again for us to see in Canada, right? We got Kimi, first driver ever to win his first 4 consecutive wins ever. We got Max and Lewis up on the podium. I mean, it was just such a good race. Such a good race. And sometimes you think you've got rose-tinted glasses when you're at the venue. But from looking at the online reports since and then watching the YouTube highlights, I think this was considered a good race. There was lots of midfield battles. There was great opening 33 for the lead, and then there was an absolute classic shootout for the other steps on the podium. So I just loved it. Loved every minute of it.
Totally agree. And like I said, it wasn't all happening in front of us. We were on the start-finish straight, grid box 12. Watched Liam get started from there, which was fun to watch him kind of get prepped and head out on track. But when something happens, when you're live, it is just so cool, even if it's another part of the track and you're watching on track TV, to be surrounded by other F1 nerds and all cheer and yell, and you can say something about the race, and someone else randomly answers. A woman sitting behind us saw me literally start to shiver during the race, tapped me on the shoulder, and offered me a poncho. And I'm thinking, well, I'm already wearing a jacket. Again, my brain was broken at this point. And she goes, oh, you could cover your legs with this. I'm like, oh, thank you. I don't want to waste your poncho. I should have wasted her poncho because I got real cold.
Yeah, you did.
But it was a great race. And when you're spoiled by having a track TV in front of you to catch the stuff that's not happening in front of you, I'm watching that, and then I look down, and there's 20 other F1 cars going by, some of them right on top of each other, right next to each other, battling each other as well. And it was just, man, I don't understand. And I know Paul, a really big thank you for Friday. Like, that is above and beyond. Really appreciate it. That's something I'll never forget. I know Rob will never forget. It was just tremendous. But somehow, this weekend, even if you hold out the special Friday aspect, it still was great. Like, it over-delivered from last year, and I don't know how that happened.
I've got to say, it's got to be the new regs a little bit, because it wasn't the DRS Snooze Fest. So
yeah. Can we?
Yeah, the only thing they got a little bit wrong.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, a couple of things they got wrong was they seemed to hold the guys back from invading the track way too long, and half the people missed the podium again, I think. And the podium was held in front of about 72 people that actually managed to sprint and get there. So they messed up the time in there. I know there's procedures that they have to hold them back, and tracks get fined if they let people on too early. But this feels like they just went way too much on the conservative side.
Way too much. There were people on Reddit that I was able to see during my flight home just before this that were commenting about the invasion being a disaster. The people got up and left their seats with 5 or 6 laps left to sacrifice the end to be there for the podium on the track. They queued up politely, kindly, waited for the sound for everyone to go, and the gates didn't open till the Italian national anthem. And so then, and the way they set it up this year was also much more difficult to get directly to the podium. You had to run counter. Rob and I did this. It was well after the podium, but we went through the track. To get on the track, it required a walk down all the way to the corner of turn 1 before you could even double back through the sand and then get back on the track. I'm like, that didn't make any sense. That's why we didn't see anybody for so long, is they opened up something probably by the Wall of Champions and then one by turn 1, and all these people had to run full speed and just make it there to catch the champagne. And that was a mess because a lot of people gave up a lot to do that, and you ruined it by not opening it. That said, the part that got me, and Rob, and again, I don't want to be an old man, and Rob's the one with the rants, but man, the commercialization of the event just continues. And we know it's there for money. It's not a non-profit organization. F1, we race for money. We get it. But last year, and in 23 and 25, they had a fan zone where they had music, and it was like a Heineken area, and Heineken still sponsors everything, so it's not as though Heineken backed out on this idea. They had this massive stage, and they had tables and bars and soft drinks, and they had an opportunity to go in there and buy a drink but listen to free music, and it was banging all day, and it was a lot of fun, and people were dancing and having fun. That was gone, and what was replaced it? Stores. And there were more stores in the fan zone than I've ever seen. All you could do was buy stuff. Did I buy some stuff? Yeah, I got some Hot Wheels. But so there were too many stores, and there was no music in that area, live music. There was one DJ above the fake podium, but it just wasn't the same. And so we kind of were ruining that as we walked down to our favorite area to hang out, the beach. And we walked down there, and we knew they had the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve experience, which is the music at night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. They took over the entire beach and covered it up with like a boardwalk, because then they made a concert hall where the rest of the beach used to be. And we hung out there 2 years, the last 2 years we went, meeting other people, enjoying some shade under a tree, sitting at a table, or having food. There were food stands. All of it was gone for this massive arena for people to go watch concerts that played music during the races, and I just couldn't figure it out, and it drove me a little nuts.
Yeah, it was such a cool place, that beach, and it's just the big cash grab for a concert that no one really seemed interested in. Every time we walked past it, there was about 3 people in there. I know it was for the nighttime, but I don't know, that was just too much for me. But yeah, one of those things. We know, like you say, they have to make money, so Anyway, the invasion came. We watched the podium. We then decided to invade the track, but this time not to hang around and take pictures. There was no crash site for us to take a picture like last year. We were on a mission to escape the island as fast as we could. So we went right through turn 1, across the other side of the track, over to the grandstand on the other side, out the back, and escaped over a bridge. And we were out and getting ready to order an Uber within about 35 minutes of leaving our seat, or 40 minutes, whatever it was. So that was awesome, which gave us plenty of time to get back to the Airbnb, work out what we were going to do. We found out that Paul was up for having dinner, so we went to a steakhouse of his choice and sat and had a good time. Good food, good wine, good beer, good chat, and then good company as these Irish guys joined us as well, which was that was very surreal. There's a point in the night where, for some reason, one of the guys gives Paul his glasses, and I think Paul still has them. He gave them to him because Paul apparently can't see and didn't realize he can't see until he got given glasses by random
the
Irish
readers.
people.
Let's be clear, they're not prescription. They're reading glasses.
I know.
Yeah.
But it was still bizarre. Yeah, so we've got to give a shout out. I'm going to really butcher this, guys, so I'm really, really sorry now. The first one's easy. Sean, the man that gave the glasses, I'm okay with pronouncing Sean. Okay.
His friend,
then
Colin. I was chatting with Colin a lot.
Yeah, Colin. It seemed like it had an R in there more, like it was a column, but okay, Colin. We'll go with Colin.
That was close. And there was a lot of drinking happening.
Yeah, I know. I think it was Sean. Was it Sean's son? Was with him, and it was Lorcan.
Yes.
We'll try that.
And then Colum's daughter Maeve had just left, but they were having a great time at the Grand Prix, and I had a great time chatting with them. Thank you guys for the conversation. Loved it. Hope you're listening. Hope you're subscribed. And then we walked out at somewhere around 1 a.m, tried to figure out how Ubers worked in Old Town, and while we did that, we recorded the 3rd beavering with Paul live, and Rob's going to have to get the censor buttons going once I hit this play button.
This is a public announcement of a Sunday race review, and it might be a bit noisy in the background because we're at the Keg restaurant in Montreal, Old Town, fantastic people, and I'm joined with 2 guests, another couple of guests. Who would have guessed it with 2 guests together? Guests and guests and guests. And you would have guessed it because it's just Brian, like, it's sapping fucking Rob. Hey now! Oh, me? Yeah. Hey now! Hey now! All right, that's better. Can we do 3 closer together? There?
Yeah, this way around.
Which way go?
Okay. Go.
Oh, hey now! Hey now!
Hey now!
There we rock. I need to swore that. I was so close. That was the Canadian Grand Prix. Listen, it sucked for us. I know I sent the review this morning, which was Saturday morning, which was a few nights ago, which was nowhere near where we wanted to be. Oh, God. Good race. Was it a good race?
Yes.
Oh, brilliant race.
A lot of fun to watch in person.
Yeah,
Drank many beers.
but you were there, so it's a bit different. Like, you were there as a spectator, so thank you. My view was going to be slightly different to that. Hey now.
By the way, this is a Monday race review. It's now Monday.
When you're recording this?
It's Monday.
Well, Monday, but it's already Monday now.
It is Monday.
It's already Monday.
I thought it was a good race.
Some of this is publishable.
George didn't.
You have 30 seconds on the
He was
McLaren intermediate
silly.
strategy.
No, I'm happy with that because, like, we did. It's worth a gamble. George throwing his toys at the pram was not great. Should have done that. But, I mean, like, listen, it was a mixed start. Everyone, like, I get the intermediate starts because we did it, and it was kind of right for us. Was it kind of right for McLaren? Hell no. But, you know.
Man says no.
But, you know, have you guys had a good night?
Great night.
What you done?
Hey now! What have we done?
Yeah.
We hung out with you, brother.
Yeah. Hung out with Pitlane Paul, the man, the myth, the legend.
And is that a good night?
Yes. The best.
All right.
And we made Brian drink Jameson's, and he fucking hates it. Ooh, bad word. I'm sorry. I'll bleep that out.
Well, why are you bleeping it? It's fucking terrible.
Oh, another bleep.
Oh,
Okay.
I fucking loved it. Good night, all.
I do not like Jameson. That is accurate. I did not like either of the shots of it.
No, and then you wimped out on whatever the other scotch we had
Brown
later,
liquid.
so-
Yeah, I tried it, and I'm like, nah, I'm not drinking a whole glass of this. Where's the Sauvignon Blanc, please?
Yeah. Everyone's looking at you a bit strange. Where Paul is curating a nice red wine for us to have with our steak, and he's got these shorts of Jameson and the nice tumbler of not tumbler, well, the Scotch glasses came, and no, it's fine. Each to their own, Brian.
Gotta
you
do
like
what you
your
gotta
white
do,
wine.
man. You gotta be
Exactly,
true to yourself.
exactly.
I spent 48 years on this earth not figuring out who I am.
No, it was a great night though. It was fantastic to participate in 2 of the Pitlane Paul reviews. So really to kind of just round this all out now, because otherwise we're just going to witter on about our weekend in Canada for far too long. We have to put a bow around the casino games. So podium predictions, the midweek. I went Antonelli, Russell, Norris. Sap went Russell, Antonelli, Norris. So we both only managed to get one driver correct on the podium, but I got Antonelli in the right place, so I take 3 points. Brian takes 1. And we will just forget about Russell and Norris because they didn't feature. We managed to pick 2 DNFs in our podium predictions.
Yeah, and then we went blackjack.
Not blackjack. No. I've got to go across the line. I've got my order on the table here. It's
right.
casino. It's roulette table.
I didn't know
X.
OCD was working on this one too.
It is. It does. I've got to read from left to right on this. The roulette wheel spun up position number 12. I went Ollie. And Sap went Carlos, and Hulkenberg said, "I'll have 12 thanks," and mean that neither of you get any points at all.
And points only for getting it right. So while Rob was closer, that does not count.
Nope, it's all or nothing on the roulette table. And the blackjack hand, where we pick 2 drivers and see who can get closest to 21 based on the points that they score in the race. I knew it was a risk when I said it. I said, this is going to be risky. I went Verstappen and Hamilton. I went about as bust as you can go without picking the winning driver.
Yeah,
which meant all Sap had to do was just pick somebody that finished in the points, to be honest. And he did. Leclerc and the gas man, what'd you get, 16?
16, that's not a bad hand.
That's a good hand. It's a good hand. I mean, you didn't even need that. You could have got 1.
Exactly.
So Brian takes that to move. I think we haven't had a roulette winner yet this year. And in blackjack, you are now. I'll have to go and check that. Anyway, we'll give a league table update as we head into the summer break, I think, on the Rob versus Brian. But
I would encourage everybody to play along. The week before each race, when we preview the upcoming week's race, we always talk about what the plan is for roulette and for blackjack, and we'd love to hear what you guys are doing. Speaking of what we're doing, fantasy, love it. To the folks sitting behind me on the plane, if you've made it this far for the fantasy update, you'll realize that sometimes we just give an update versus an actual discussion. That's one of these times. The Canadian Grand Prix, tie for first. A couple big scores, 354. I know it's a sprint weekend. That's still a big score. Michael Cronje, Sunday morning stroll. F1FantasyTools.com, the provider of one of the leading fantasy tools, F1FantasyTools.com, they tied. 44th gear Gavin right behind. Master of Signs Fockery, MCL Papaya RT from Mike. GBH Racing Team Peter in 6th. A little fella named Dirty Side Sap in 7th. We then get to San Gaucho La 33 F1 Team Asir. FanAmp Fantasy HQ Adam, leading content creator in the space, 304 in 9th. Max and his boys from Pullman in 10th, 298. And you may say, Brian, what does that mean for the overall? Where are we at from the top handful? Well, no shocker here. Leading our league, FanAmp Fantasy HQ Adam, 44th gear Gavin in 2nd, and GBH Racing Team Peter in 3rd. That's the current podium. We are, just to remind everybody, we are doing a t-shirt at the summer break for the leader and then a t-shirt at the end of the season for the winner. We are not doing the American t-shirts this year because it cost me a lot of money and I got a kid in college. But I will say I am 5th in the league. It is a league of some serious players. I'm very happy to be 5th. I'm about 9,000 in the world, which is nothing to sneeze at out of like 72 million players. I didn't mention Rob and either of those things because Rob's kind of given up the ghost on the fantasy. He does it, but he doesn't put in the homework. And when I put in homework,
I
Rob can attest
don't
to this.
do it.
He doesn't do it. I can attest to what I did. It was Friday night at the bar before Paul showed up. My phone had like 20% battery I needed to save for an Uber. I looked for about 3 minutes at Adam's notes and Rob's notes. I never did any budget building information. I figured out my team, and then I shut it all down because my phone was so hot at this point. I was afraid I was going to lose all remaining battery. And I put it in Saturday morning before we went to the track, and it worked. I had a good week. I won't complain.
No, but you will give yourself a shout out more than all of those great listeners that we have that are above you, and all we have to hear about is how you're ninth or whatever you are.
Once again, Brian did a good job in fantasy this weekend.
Oh, man.
Jeez. What a weekend. How great was this?
That was amazing. I got to go and try and recover now. I need sleep tonight. And then we can, the next couple of days, we can plan out what we're going to do this weekend, because it'll be a preview of Monaco. I think we just got nothing this week, but Monaco the week after, right?
Yeah, we'll tiptoe around and find some content and make sure that we can find something good to talk about. The 23 miles or whatever we walked over 3 days was amazing. Thank you guys for listening. I know we talked about this on the Discord and in other episodes. This is one of our favorite episodes because it's one of our favorite weekends, and it's a little different than usual. We'll be back to normal service after this. But man, that was great. Like I said, I don't know how it somehow topped itself, and I'm holding the amazingness of Paul out for a second, because that alone could tip the whole weekend being better than ever before. So I'd like to once again say thanks to Paul. It was just
definitely
great. And thanks for making the time just to hang out on Friday and Sunday, but especially getting us back there.
And if you do get your hands on the picture that the photographer took of us, the official Cadillac photographer, then we'd love to see it, just so that we can actually prove that we were actually there in Cadillac Corner.
We sat in the back of the Caddy garage and watched Sprint Quali.
I know. So, yeah. I can't keep saying thank you to Paul, because we'll just keep going for the next 10 hours. So I think we wrap it there, and then we get ready for the Monaco preview next week.
That sounds great. Everybody, thank you for listening. To everybody we met, it was a pleasure. We had a great time being F1 nerds with other F1 people. Go ahead, Rob.
And final shout out. We've got to give a shout out to the Underground.
Yes. What were we doing? We forgot about talking about that.
I know. Owen and Cassie, I believe. We met them. They were in the same grandstand as us. They posted to social media, and we were like, whoa, hang on a minute. That's the same view we have, but it just seems a little higher. So we turned around, and there they were, up at the back of or whatever it was. We went up there. We chatted with them for a while. It was just so cool. Just to kind of actually put, not names to faces, that's the wrong thing, but to actually just sort of see people that you've only ever had a relationship with through F1 threads. So yeah, if you don't follow Underground Circuit, give the guys there a follow. But it was just fantastic to meet you both, and hopefully we will feature on your pod or you on us at some point in the near future. And now you can wrap it up.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll talk to you in 1 week's time. Be well, be safe.